Hello and welcome to Watch Otaku Recap. Today I will be explaining Astra Lost in Space. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. On her way to the planetary camp, Aries Spring has her bag snatched at the spaceport, but fellow student Kanata Hashijima stops the thief. 9 students from Caird High School arrive at Planet McPaw for their planetary camp. Not long after setting foot, a mysterious sphere appears out of nowhere and swallows up the students. They end up adrift in space where they find an abandoned spaceship. Everybody except Aries makes it on board. At the risk of running out of fuel and also ending up lost in space, Kanata goes out and rescues Aries. Kanata runs out of fuel, but the other students form a human ladder to rescue Kanata and Aries. With everybody safely on board the spaceship, the students introduce themselves to each other, and Zack Walker learns that the sphere transported them 5,012 light-years away from home. As paranoia sets in, realizing that the trip is impossible with the limited resources they have, the mood changes when Zack finds planets the students can resupply on and a route to get back. The students name the spaceship Astra after seeing the phrase "per aspera ad Astra" on a plaque inside the spaceship. The students arrive at the first resupplying stop, the wilderness planet Villavers. The students encounter strange forms of wildlife that include parachute plants and trampoline trees. As the students go around obtaining resources for the next leg of the trip, they encounter the mysterious sphere again, but this time manage to avoid getting sucked into it. Kanata begins eating impulsively, while Treachery becomes upset at the situation, remembering that she came from a wealthy family that did not love her. Treachery also harbors some bitterness towards her little sister Phoenicia due to her being adopted into the family. As night falls, Phoenicia becomes trapped when a trampoline tree suddenly rises and a Turgon snatches her away. Despite the dangers, Kanata jumps onto the tree and grabs a javelin Luca left on one of the trees to save Phoenicia. Treachery and Phoenicia reconciled with each other, and Kanata reveals that he was trained to be a world-class athlete by his father. With the students ready to leave Villavers, Zack pulls Kanata aside and reveals to him his belief that the Astra's communications system was intentionally destroyed, and that the individual responsible for sabotaging the ship is a member of the group. As the Astra travels to the next resupplying stop, Kanata secretly tries to figure out who the saboteur is, but does not know enough about everybody to make a determination. When Phoenicia recounts how a mysterious suited man arranged for her adoption into Treachery's family, Kanata theorizes that somebody wants them all killed. Ulgar reveals that he is the son of their school's vice principal, which puts the most suspicion on him. However, the ship is suddenly struck by micrometeorites, breaching the hull and disabling the main power supply. Without power, the Astra is caught in Shamur's gravity and begins plummeting in an uncontrolled descent. The group moves frantically to seal the holes and connect the ship's gravity controller to a backup generator. However, the gravity controller's safety mechanism kicks in when it detects a small flying alien creature, forcing Ulgar to shoot it with a glue gun. With power restored, Zack is barely able to land the Astra safely, much to everybody's relief. It is later revealed that Ulgar secretly possesses a real handgun. In light of their combined effort to prevent the Astra from crashing, the students conclude that the saboteur has a desire for survival as well and decide not to actively investigate for the time being. They land on Shamur and begin foraging for food and encounter large, friendly bird-like aliens they dub gluppies. Unfortunately, they discover that most of the edible plants on Shamur spoil extremely quickly, making them unsuitable for long-term storage, and the gluppies are inedible, meaning they do not have enough food supplies for the next leg of the trip. Meanwhile, Yunhua deserts the ship, telling the crew to leave her behind. Kanata goes out to search for her and finds her. Yunhua reveals that her mother emotionally abused her and raised her into believing it was better to avoid the attention of others. At that moment, the large mushrooms scattered around the planet begin releasing poisonous spores, infecting all of the students except Kanata and Yunhua, who were wearing their spacesuits. Charles tells them that there should be an antidote mushroom to counter the poison, and Kanata and Yunhua remember feeding a sick gruppy a yellow mushroom that cured it. As Kanata gathers the antidote mushrooms, Yunhua begins to sing to calm her sick friends, thanks to Kanata encouraging her to pursue her dream to be a singer. Kanata brings the antidote mushrooms back, curing his friends, while Yunhua gains more self-confidence. After the group recovers, they credit Yunhua's singing for helping keep them alive, and find out that she is the daughter of the famous singer Lucy Lam. To symbolize her growth, Yunhua has her hair cut short. They then manage to find a stable food source and leave Shamur. Meanwhile, back home, the authorities have all but given up on finding the missing students after an exhaustive search on McPaw. The parents of the missing students meet and consider whether they should declare their children legally dead. Only Aries' mom is genuinely concerned while the other parents are quick to accept the decision to stop the search. The man in sunglasses that Funisha talked about earlier is silently sitting off to the side of the room. The only parent missing is Luca's father, Marco, who is a powerful and controversial government official. Back in space, the group has landed on the oceanic world of Arispade, which they consider a paradise. Food is plentiful and Charles discovers all life on the planet reproduces via parthenogenesis. Treachery starts teasing Aries about her feelings for Kanata, convincing her to try and confess to him. However, Kanata misunderstands Aries' words, angering her. Luca and Ulgar go fishing, with Luca trying to get Ulgar to open up, though Ulgar is shocked to learn the identity of Luca's father. Later that evening, the group has a picnic to celebrate their last night on Arispade when Ulgar appears with his gun and holds Luca at gunpoint. As Ulgar holds Luca at gunpoint, he states that he is not the traitor and explains to everybody that he believes his older brother was murdered by the politician Marco Esposito for investigating his corruption. He seeks to kill Luca for revenge, as he is Marco's eldest son and apparent heir. Luca then reveals that he is not Marco's heir due to being intersex, having been born with both male and female biology. In addition, he had been secretly adopted into the Esposito family before his condition was discovered, and was all but disowned when his younger brother was born. Ulgar realizes Luca is an outcast from his family just like him and lowers the gun. Suddenly, the island is hit by a tsunami. Most of the group manages to make it onto the Astra safely, but Ulgar and Luca are washed away. Ulgar attempts to sacrifice himself to ensure Luca's safety, but they both end up being rescued by Kanata. After they leave Arispade, Ulgar apologizes to Luca and vows to return home alive to investigate his brother's death. Zack then brings up the possibility that Ulgar's brother may have uncovered a much deeper conspiracy than government corruption, which may be related to why they've all been targeted. Ulgar decides he will become a journalist like his brother, and Kanata allows Ulgar to maintain possession of the gun since he is the only person who knows how to use it. Later on, Aries gets into a conversation with Charles, and she notices an inconsistency in his story because she doesn't remember seeing him in the biology class he claimed to attend. The group confronts Charles, suspecting he is hiding something from them. Charles reveals that like Aries, he is also a transfer student who arrived after Aries. He admits that he didn't reveal this earlier since he didn't want to talk about his past since he is from the Vixia royal quarter, the only nation on Earth that is still ruled by the nobility. In the past, he had befriended a commoner girl named Syra and smuggled her into the area reserved only for nobles. When she was caught by a guard, Syra resisted and was pushed off a building, falling into a coma due to her injuries. Sometime later, Syra's family left Vixia, taking her with them. Charles left as well, swearing to learn biology so he could hopefully find and heal Syra someday. The rest of the group are touched by Charles' tragic story, and Charles remarks that Aries reminds him of Syra. Afterward, the group reaches the next planet, Icarus. However, Icarus' rotation is perfectly in sync with its orbit around its sun, meaning one side is permanently scorching hot while the other side is permanently freezing cold, meaning the only safe place to forage is the region directly between both extremes. Unfortunately, as they attempt to find a landing spot, the Astra is attacked by a massive carnivorous plant, resulting in the Astra suffering significant damage that makes reaching space impossible. Zack points out they do not have the parts or resources to repair the damage, so they will have to accept living on Icarus as their new home. Later, Charles leads a foraging party and discovers a second ship similar to the Astra. The group examines the ship, noting it is heavily damaged and seemingly abandoned. Zack then realizes there is somebody preserved in the ship's hibernation pod for the past 12 years, and the group opens it to reveal a young woman inside. In the boardroom of the Astra, Paulina introduces herself as an astronaut of the Arc 6. Paulina and her crew made an emergency landing on the planet Icarus due to a malfunctioning communicator. In their attempt to safely land on the planet, they're attacked by the local flora and crash land under a cliff. Her fellow crew members go missing after they scour the periphery, leaving Paulina alone. So she enters the hibernation pod in hopes that one day someone would be able to rescue her. The goal of her crew was interplanetary habitation, in other words, finding a suitable planet for humans to populate. Kanata and the crew then bring up the fact that their ship is also broken due to its reactor being broken in an accident. The news shocks and causes Paulina to fall unconscious. After an explanation of the safe habitats on Icarus, Aries has an epiphany of how to repair their ship with parts from Arc 6. The crew waste no time and fix the ship, while Paulina awakens in the infirmary. There, Yunhua talks with Paulina and updates her on the situation. Delighted by the news of the ship's repair, she is, however, left aghast by what year it is. Day 80 of being lost in space, Charles gives an update on the food supply and reports that it's astounding. He goes on to talk about the different kinds of edible plants on the planet, and Zack and Treachery hunt for food. The two have a heart-to-heart with one another, and it escalates rather quickly with the topic of romance and marriage. A week later, the crew on Paulina's behest search the planet for traces of her lost crewmates. At the location of the Ark-6 rover, they find that it's been dilapidated by the elements. After finding an ID tag of one of the crewmates, they're ambushed by 3 monstrous flora and escape. Later on, the ship finally leaves Icarus, and Kanata proposes they have a party to commemorate the occasion. The conversation then switches to the crew's individual blood types and then to how Treachery and Phoenicia are not real sisters. This leads to the crew to have their DNA scanned by the ship's computer, and the results are astonishing. A flashback involving Kanata and his father Ray about their differences about Kanata's future. At the bridge of the ship, Zack reveals the shocking details about Treachery and Phoenicia are the same person. Kanata corroborates the fact and then reveals how the entire crew is clones of their parents. Their parents' goals were to use their bodies in order to rejuvenate themselves. Meanwhile, back on the crew's home planet, their parents hold a meeting in regards to their clone children. Back on the ship, Treachery has a meltdown about how they're clones and how their space trip was a front to erase them. This is so their parents wouldn't be arrested for violating the Genome Control Act. Not allowing the pensive revelation to get to him or his fellow crew members, he gives a speech that raises their morale. Eventually, Kanata has a one-on-one heart-to-heart with nearly everyone in the crew. He eavesdrops on a conversation with Treachery, Phoenicia, Zack, and Ares. Later on, Zack and Treachery reveal that they're going to get married one day. In the celebration that took part after the revelation, an image of their home planet is shown on the bridge monitors. Paulina walks into the bridge, and although she's delighted she's returning home, she's left aghast that the planet isn't Earth. In the meeting room, Paulina is educated about the crew's home planet Astra. They soon discuss the histories of their respective eras. In the crew's school, they learn not to focus on the past but the future. Paulina is also left perplexed by the false historical information about World War III and the Cuban Missile Crisis. She's then disclosed the events that took place in World War III. In turn, Pauline discloses information on how a giant asteroid could kill all life on the planet when it struck. As a way to preserve a fraction of the history and life on Earth, a planetary expedition was created to seek out new planets to inhabit. The thought of interplanetary immigration is thought to be impossible, however, due to artificial wormholes, it makes it possible. This makes all of the inhabitants of Astra are former Earthlings. It's also surmised that the icy planet they once discovered was really Earth. The topic is segued by Ares, who wants to focus on the bad atmosphere. Afterward, Ares and Kanata have a talk. Day 111 of their space trip, they near planet Galem, the final stopping planet before they reach Astra. Once they land their ship on the planet, a 500 m search radius is conducted and the crew divides into groups. Kanata and Ares have a heart-to-heart with one another, and when the two separate, Kanata ruminates about an enemy among them. At that moment, an artificial wormhole appears and chases after Kanata. Lead into a narrow cave, the wormhole disappears once he regroups with Ares. The following day, Kanata reveals his encounter with the artificial wormhole to Zack and Charles. He also reveals that Ulgar is a double agent out to kill them. So with Charles as bait, they try and entrap Ulgar in a cave but fail. However, it's revealed that Charles is the real double agent. Confronted by his crew, he reveals all of his misdeeds to try and sabotage the crew from ever returning home, and that he's a clone of King Noah Vix. Charles discloses his earliest memories to the crew as well as his backstory. Once his big revelation is over, Charles doesn't lament over his failure but relishes the life he's lived thus far. Kanata reasons with Charles that he's not a true enemy but their friend. In turn, Charles reveals that Ares is a clone of Syra, his old friend who acted as a sister to him and the daughter of the king of Vixia, and goes on to explain his time with her before she was assassinated. Left with no purpose, Charles tries to kill himself with an artificial wormhole, but Kanata saves him, losing his right arm in the process. Treachery reveals to the crew on the bridge that Kanata is in stable condition. Soon, Kanata enters the bridge, reassuring everyone that he's fine. The following day, the crew finish savaging for food on the planet, and the next day they leave the planet. On their way to Astra, Charles reveals the truth about the connection with Astra and Earth. He also reveals the truth about the artificial wormholes and the falsified history they were told to believe. In order to prepare themselves from any repercussions from their return to Astra, the crew messages Ares' mom, Emma, detailing everything they've experienced and learned thus far. Emma forwards this information to the police, and sequentially all of the cloned originals are arrested. With that, the crew of the Astra finally are able to make it home. Now that they're back on planet Astra, the crew is interviewed by various news outlets pertaining to their experience in their space adventure. Kanata and Zack successfully pressure the government to disseminate the truth about Astra, causing worldwide anti-government protests. It was Kanata's book that quelled the truth-fueled chaos. Years go by and we see the modern lives of the former crew Astra ship crew. Kanata, Zack, and Charles all go on another space exploration to places unknown. And this is where the anime ends. If you enjoyed the content, subscribe so you can stay updated with new anime recaps on the channel. Thank you and have a great day.